Um, we were before we had gotten started. I got a chance to talk with Cassie real quick, and definitely wanted to shout out the All the Small Rains music video that they put out and sent out to the WMAs. That was awesome. So yeah, thank you, Cassie, for the opportunity to hop on here today and kind of share some of the work we're doing at the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship on the ag side of things from a wetlands perspective. So I work in the Water Resources Bureau for the Division of Soil Conservation and Water Quality. And my role is I'm one of two wetland project managers. I generally cover the eastern half of the state, especially as we're kind of expanding into newer counties as we're expanding geography with these wetlands. And I'll talk in a little bit about the history of the program and kind of where we're heading and some of the different wetland design types and things like that. And then, yeah, glad to do the best I can to answer any questions once we get to the end of the presentation. So, really quick, I know a lot of you folks on here are probably all familiar with, the state's Iowa nutrient reduction strategy and working towards, opportunities to reduce nitrogen and phosphorus loss. Um, One of the things I just like to point out with wetlands and why they're a big priority for the department is they have a pretty sizable bang for the buck as far as the opportunity and ability to treat hundreds, if not thousands, of acres in a fairly concentrated area. A lot of times, the area these wetlands work are not always the most profitable, or it's just a lot of times they're historically were wetlands, and so there's opportunities for restoration, and then opportunities to construct these in strategic ways too. So just like to show that edge of field practices like saturated buffers, bioreactors. I'm sure some of you folks are familiar with the batch and build efforts that are going on too. I'm not quite as involved as I used to be in those, but those are important practices. It's just like with cover crops and nutrient management, all super important. But my work is definitely in kind of that edge of field realm. So, for those of you that haven't heard, our Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program, which started well before I joined the department in 2018, CREP was started in the early 2000s as a joint partnership between FSA and IDALS, specifically looking at large water quality, nutrient reduction, wetland projects on and along the Des Moines lobe. So you can see the 37 counties that were and still are eligible for that program. What's unique about that program is there's a associated conservation easement and a 15-year CRP contract that landowners enroll in with this program. And there's specific design criteria. There's been extensive water quality monitoring done by Iowa State University. This program requires contributing drainage areas of at least 500 acres. We're looking primarily for row crop, tile drain acres where we can know we likely have nitrate, the opportunity to treat before heading down into our waterways. And that program's really done a wonderful job at helping us understand how to size these things. We've started incorporating uh, different ways to become more efficient and make our projects last longer. Um, so, some examples of design criteria that we've established through that program is, we're looking at creating wetlands that are between 0.5% to 2% in size of the contributing drainage area. So, again, just for simplicity's sake with numbers, assuming we have 100 acres that are draining, you'd want a half acre to 2 acre wetland project. And so again, that's a pretty small area and compared to the areas you have the opportunity to treat. And I'll talk through some of the other design criteria as we move into our next slides here. But the Iowa Water Quality Initiative and Senate File 512 funding that's been dedicated to the strategy provided us an opportunity to expand off the lobe, start working in other counties. That has been a really excellent opportunity. But then, with that comes new landscapes and working with new staff that hasn't worked on these projects before. And can't say enough about all of the different partners, whether it be NGOs, counties, cities, um, all these different groups that have helped support kind of trying to get our program scaled up. And I'll talk a little bit about that. And again, I kind of referenced the expanded geography already too. So what I would consider are sort of bread and butter. It's like been the sites that have worked for a long time. We kind of refer to them, if you've heard them, as breakpoint wetlands. They're often times, people are just so familiar with the program, they'll call them crepe wetland style. And basically they're sites where we're looking at opportunities to intercept either a concentrated grass waterway, ditch, or small stream with an impoundment. This photo here kind of illustrates the before and after, right? So we had a large grass waterway. This is a site down in Keokuk County, where landowner actually approached the department with the idea that he's having some challenges with this area in the center of the grass waterway kind of washing out, and just thought it'd be a good opportunity for a wetland. And so you can kind of see the opportunity there to create a wetland using a sheet pile weir structure with a earthen embankment. Get some better photos here. This is a good one that kind of illustrates how these are kind of designed, and how the conservation easement is determined. So you'll see kind of the blue line that surrounds the what we call normal wetland pool, that the elevation is established by this sheet pile weir structure. So water, it's a full flow structure that water is continually flowing over. Up here on the top left part of the screen is where a large drainage district tile main actually outlets into the wetland pool. When these are being designed, we have to make sure that we provide that separation so we're not negatively impacting upstream drainage. And so basically you can see that engineers determine that kind of lighter blue color is our normal pool. But even though these are full flow structures, there still is an associated storm bounce with these. So what we've learned is we've tried to contain the 100-year storm event. Basically if we have about roughly a 7-inch rain in a 24-hour period, we try to contain the area that pool is going to expand out to at a minimum. And then we work with the landowners to kind of straighten things up so it works better from a farming perspective. If you were just to follow the 100-year storm event, you'd kind of have some wonky, kind of unusually shaped fields and stuff like that. So they farmers like kind of straighter lines and stuff like that. And so you'll see that reflected in this photo. Here's a really large really large structure up in just east of Storm Lake. It's called our DD 101 project, where we have right around 5,000 acres draining to the site. I believe this is a 54-acre wetland. You'll see at the bottom of the screen here the sheet pile weir structure I referred to before, and you can see these old drainage district, basically drainage district ditches that kind of run through the project area and now are part of the overall wetland project. And then I thought this photo did a good job. I actually just got this last week from a colleague on a project up in Winnesheek County. It was our first breakpoint site that we put in up there, and it kind of highlights some of the newer features that we've incorporated into the projects that we hadn't always had. So you'll see on the upper end these two sediment forebays. Basically, it allows for fines to settle out before entering the shallow wetland. And then if you look really faintly, you can see the submerged berms that are incorporated into the project design. And it's really to encourage mixing, basically lengthen the retention time of the water moving through the system. And I think this site has really turned out to be a good one. So it's again, these are like the sites that we've worked on for a long time. Dr. Crumpton put this slide together at Iowa State University several years ago, and I still like to include it in my presentations because it does a good job showing that, like, hey, we've got these large watersheds where we have breakpoint opportunities like the projects that we are showing, but higher up in the landscape, we have these other potential practice types called tile zone wetlands I'll talk a little bit about. And then lower in the landscape, we have opportunities for floodplain wetlands too, where we still have the opportunity to treat nutrients. And really, if we're working on these other alternative style designs, it just opens up more opportunities. So, tile zone wetlands, especially if you work or are familiar with north central Iowa, which I think most of the folks on the call are. You've seen farms like this in all likelihood. These prairie pothole depressional features that you plant, you get those spring rains, they fill up. You may drown out. You might have to replant them again. And even then, you can still run into challenges there. And this is an example of that up in Buena Vista County. And the concept here is basically you have these large drainage district tile mains that oftentimes run underneath these depressional areas. And it's like, hey, what if we use these areas that aren't all that productive as an opportunity to provide some nutrient treatment? Yeah, that are just not very productive ground for the farmer anyways. And so what we do is you can see in this screenshot from the design, we're basically intercepting a drainage district main higher in the landscape, and then running a flatter, larger tile that allows for the water to surface into this wetland that's shown in blue. Normally, these don't always need a earthen berm quite as large as this, but during the design phase, it was noted that there was a natural gas pipeline that ran on the southeastern portion of the property. And so this was a way that we kind of coordinated and worked with the pipeline company to ensure that we were maintaining that separation to stay off, any pipeline infrastructure out there. And so this was, of course, we start building some of these and then we run into drought years, right? So 2023 wasn't all that impressive, just because we were pretty dry, 22, 23. But then this photo was taken after a large rain event in May of 2024 last year. And so you can see that the water was definitely out there. Again, there's a lot of surface. I'd imagine there'd be quite a bit of surface runoff in this photo as well, in addition to what's coming from the drainage district main that's being diverted to it. Another a really big opportunity that we think's out there that we're working on and just starting to get several sites out for construction bidding on are pumped wetlands. Where we've found they really can work is these unusual kind of odd shaped pieces where you're along a creek or ditch, a stream, or in some cases we're pumping directly from tile too. An example I guess would be on this past one. We had to coordinate and work with the upstream neighbor to basically allow for that diversion. And if that wouldn't have worked out, where a pump can really provide that opportunity is putting the pump right over the tile right next to the wetland pool. So gravity is nice because it's working 24/7, 365 days a year. Pumps are a little bit more, work and require more maintenance, but it does open up additional opportunities. So I just thought I'd include kind of a concept drawing that for a site that's actually likely going into construction later this year on Calhoun County Conservation Board property. So that's kind of a neat one. And then there's Dr. Crumpton there with one of the early pumped wetland sites near Ames. Really like to kind of highlight this project. There was so many folks involved that made this one come to fruition, and a lot of learning lessons. But I think it's resulted in a really excellent wetland project. You'll hear it referred to as the Story County Conservation Board wetland, or Dotson Wetland, near Gilbert, Iowa. And so basically what we had going on here on the left, you'll see a screenshot of the joint drainage district that basically drains down to this red dot here is where this wetland is. You'll see the main extends under 170th Street here and then opens into a drainage ditch before exiting out Iowa Creek. Um, and so there was basically the thought was the Story County Conservation Board was given this property, and there was a development on the northeast side, and basically there was discussion of could a pumped wetland work. And so there's a pump that's placed right over the recently installed and or rebuilt main that pumps water into a diversion tile into this wetland project. While the main is, still intact for, we're only going to be taking a portion of that drainage, so that there's no, risk to negatively impacting drainage capacity. But those base flows, we can get to this wetland project. And here's a photo. So we're looking south now. So this would be right from where that pump inlet is. So the wetland that comes is fed by the tile into the wetland project area. Here's some of the site statistics that came with this one, and again highlight the partners that help make this happen: the Story County Conservation Board, City of Ames, Story SWCD, the Story and Boone County Board of Supervisors, drainage districts, Ducks Unlimited, and there was others involved, but we were really happy with how that wetland is performing. I mentioned floodplain wetlands. Here's another example of a site where a landowner came to us and was just like, "Hey, is there any opportunity to do a wetland here?" It's just low floodplain area that was oftentimes underwater. And basically what we did is there was a large contributing drainage area that came from the north into a little small stream. We created a diversion tile using a riffle structure that feeds this wetland. And so here's some after photos of what that looks like now. Again, the stream that's outletting into the river is still maintained. So during large events, the stream will still just take water like it had before, but those lower base flows can be fed into this wetland. Here's another one up in near Manson, Iowa. Kind of the same idea, a little bit different. We had a diversion ditch that basically diverted some of the flows into this wetland along a larger drainage ditch. And you can just see some of the this. I just got this photo from Ducks Unlimited. You can really see the emergent vegetation that's come in there. And this is just after about a year. So we really think there's a lot of good opportunities with this style of site as well. Wanted to show a quick map of just our projects that we've completed, ones that are in development. As you can see, largely our clusters are still going to be in that CREP eligible counties on and along the Des Moines lobe, but you can see we're really starting to expand into to northeastern Iowa as well, working in the Middle Cedar, starting to get a lot of sites in Winneshiek and Howard and Chickasaw counties. Starting to do some work down in Mahaska counties too, a little bit in Poweshiek and Keokuk. So excited. Been over the last few years talking to a lot of new soil and water conservation district commissioners. That holding conservation easements is different from the traditional maintenance agreements associated with cost share. And yeah, it's been exciting. Working in different landscapes have presented challenges, from sinkholes to karst bedrock and things that we haven't always ran into out on the lobe. But it's been good and exciting, and looking forward to building more sites. Definitely want to give a big shout out to multi-purpose oxbows. I don't work on them directly quite as often, but opportunities where there's already oxbows that have the opportunity to be restored, and where there's an opportunity to outlet a tile into them. They've proven to be incredibly effective at reducing nitrogen as well. And then I guess another practice that I have been quite involved with from EPA Gulf grants is, as some of you may have heard of it, is referred to as drainage water recycling. And essentially what we've been doing, there's kind of two different ways, and I think both of these photos, they kind of illustrate the two different approaches. This one you can kind of see looks similar to our CREP wetlands, or a breakpoint wetlands, where you have that sheet pile weir structure with a stilling basin. And in this case, what the landowner is doing is actually um, pumping that water out back onto this popcorn field to the west and reusing that water. So it's both getting and this is being researched heavily at this point by Iowa State and Chris Hay. But we're really excited to see and learn from these kind of sites. Here's another site in Whittemore that's just wrapping up construction, where we're actually pumping water from a tile main with a lift station or a pump. And similar concept is our pumped wetlands, but in this case, again, the landowner is going to be utilizing the water that's in this reservoir for irrigation. So it's kind of one of those deals that the idea is that it's beneficial to the farmer, and then we think that there's some really excellent opportunities from a water quality perspective too, and researchers are working to confirm that. So if research monitoring on these is been done by Dr. Crumpton's lab for several years now, particularly on these breakpoint sites. And so I know there's going to be a ramped up effort on these alternative designs or alternative style designs. But can't say enough good things about Dr. Crumpton and David Green and all the team that's at that lab. They've been excellent to work with, and definitely wanted to give them a shout out there. And to quickly kind of just highlight 2025, we've built 147 projects to date. We know we need to be doing much more of that, and again, bringing in partners and helping support. We've historically done, a handful of sites per year, and so we're pretty excited that so far this year we've gotten 19 projects to bid. We have 3 more at least that are planned prior to the end of this calendar year. So our leadership's tasked with us to try to get to 30. And so we've made some really good headway, and we currently have 93 active sites under development, whether it be design through construction. So we're really continuing to ramp up and excited to see more and more sites constructed here this year and into the next few years. Talked a little bit about this already, but just kind of some of the new things, right? So pumped wetlands, one of the big kind of challenges that's come along with that is you got to power these things, right? And so sites that are tied directly to the grid that have access to a power source, that's nice because they can run 24/7, but then you have an associated power bill, right? And so that brings in kind of some challenges on, okay, how is that paid for? And can you provide solar? In some cases, there's community solar that can be purchased to offset that. Sometimes not. So do you put solar panels on place? There's solar powered pumps, but then those can only run if the sun's shining unless you get a battery backup. So there's long story short, there's all these different things that we're trying to work through and understand and find out what's most effective. And so that's going to continue to be a learning, learn a lot of lessons through that. I mentioned earlier the new geographic locations expanding eastwards. This is kind of more of an internal thing, but we have a new contracting process that I think should be more efficient rather than contractors traveling all the way to Des Moines for bid submittals and openings. We've recently moved to a system called Impacts where that can be done online, trying to become more efficient there. I mentioned some of the different partnerships, looking on outside partnerships for delivering wetlands through, we've been doing projects with the Polk, Hamilton, Clay, Palo Alto, Cassuths. We're working on where Ducks Unlimited is helping us support some design efforts on some of these. And we have several pre-qualified engineering firms that do design work. Great Outdoors Foundation's helping support some of these programs. So lots of different groups that are supporting these efforts, and it's been really excellent. And then one of the things I don't want to dive too deep into, but One of the reasons, another reason for some of these alternative designs, getting some of these breakpoint projects, the ones that I was talking about initially, getting them through the permitting process, through the Army Corps of Engineers, has been a little bit restrictive, more restrictive. We receive a new regional permit every 5 years, and so we've had to basically move a little further up in the landscape and into the watershed. Um, Having to work on a little bit smaller projects. And so that's where some of these alternative design sites can kind of help with that. We're also working directly with the Corps on a revised version of the permit that should open up more opportunities. So I'm really excited about that. And Yeah, that is a kind of just quick overview of the work that's going on. As you can tell, there's a lot of new things that we're trying to kind of work through, lots of little hurdles here and there. But I think it's an exciting time as we try to really see what works in addition to Breakpoint and hopefully see many more of these projects installed on the landscape over the next several years.
Awesome. Thank you, Shane. So if you've ever heard John Swanson talk at the WMA meetings about the wetland wave, these are a lot of the types of wetlands that are being installed with that project as well. If you have any questions for Shane, please type them in the chat and I will read them now. We already have a few, so I'll go ahead and get started. Are forebays included in the design for all styles of wetlands?
Good question. So we have definitely included them for bays with all of our new breakpoint sites, and we are including them in some of our pump sites where we have limited surface drainage. Um, limited contributing surface drainage. We have not always included them, just because we don't think there's going to be as much sedimentation. But I think that's something that we'll have to kind of monitor and definitely keep an eye on as some of these new sites are installed.
Okay. Who is responsible to the maintenance on these wetlands?
Yeah. Good question. So, conservation easements are held by the Soil and Water Conservation District, but the landowners are required to do the associated maintenance. Typically, we say that's, treating the site similar to like a CRP contract. So, particularly those first couple of years, managing the seeding is important, but then um, managing trees is probably one of the most important and critical maintenance components. And our wetland field specialists that we contract through the Iowa Drainage District Association, they visit each of the sites that have been installed once a year and kind of serve as a local wetland liaison for the landowners and put together reports on how sites are doing and then work with those landowners on addressing maintenance concerns.
Okay. A follow-up to that is guidance provided on how to maintain the features of a wetland.
Yeah, so we have these basically like wetland maintenance landowner guides that we've kind of put together to kind of help landowners with understanding what's a good seeding look like um, but then again making sure that they're connected with their field specialists so that if they ever need somebody to visit out there with them to look over, hey, is this a good species? Are these trees an issue? And we get burrowing issues occasionally, things like that. So having that local support is huge.
All right. What is the life expectancy of an ag wetland?
So with our program, the landowners are provided the opportunity to either enroll into a 30-year or a permanent conservation easement. Both provide a 30-year maintenance requirement, and our typical sedimentation design life exceeds 100 years. So we hope that these will be on the landscape for decades. Um, but the landowners are only required to maintain them for 30 years.
All right. Any other questions? Shane Ann wants to know what your most rewarding project was and why.
Sure. So I before I moved to Des Moines, I worked for the Miller Creek Water Quality Improvement Project. It was my first job out of college in Blackhawk County in yeah, kind of south of Waterloo, and so southern Blackhawk, northern Tama County. And there was a land or a farmer there that kind of took me under his wing when I first started that position because I did not come from a farming background. And so, we worked on cover crops and no-till, and then we did some bioreactors and saturated buffers while I was still working there, and then started discussing a wetland project just before I took off and took this role down in Des Moines. And so it was fun, really fun and rewarding to see that through. Kind of felt like um, you did that kind of full circle conservation where you work on some of the infield management, you start working on some of the smaller structures, and then finish with I'm a little bit biased, but I think wetlands are kind of that kind of the star of the show, I think. And so it was really cool to kind of see that all those different conservation practices that eventually resulted in a really nice wetland project.
Nice. Yeah, it's so nice to be able to see the complete cycle of something from start to
Yeah,
finish.
yeah,
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions. So thanks so much, Shane, for sharing your knowledge. And thanks to everyone for jumping in on this Lunch and Learn today. Because Shane mentioned it, I'm going to go ahead and share the Rain Campaign's new video after this webinar officially ends. So if anyone's interested in watching that, stick around. Otherwise, thanks again, everyone, for participating in the webinar today. You guys see the YouTube video? Okay, cool.
Hey Cassie, I don't think the sound is coming through.
Okay, thank you. I always forget where to find that. Do you guys remember how to find the share sound on here? I feel like it changes all the time. Share computer sound. Got it. All right, let's try this again.
All the small things add up when it rains. Soil is
I love rain. 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 Oh, rain. I love you.
Say that it's so wherever we go. Join the program, improve your home, lower your bills with puddles that thrill. Irrigate less and keep your home chill. Get your rebate, don't hesitate. Helping our state with what we create. Up in your game, whatever it rains. Community wins, community wins. The rain campaign.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Cassie.